Notion can be confusing for beginners and even for seasoned users as they come up with more and more new features. In this video, I wanted to go back to the very basics and explain the core concepts and terminology that Notion uses in a way that could hopefully help you understand Notion better and improve your workflow. I'll be covering things like what exactly are Notion databases, pages, blocks, the differences between Teamspace and Workspace, and more. If you find this video useful, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Let's first go over what exactly is a Notion workspace. It's one of the first words you might encounter when you start using Notion, and it's basically your primary digital environment where all of your Notion content lives. So it's like your digital headquarters that contains all of your pages, databases, and files. Another key feature of workspaces is that all of your settings and customizations are tied to that workspace, as well as your member management and permissions. And also the billing and subscription details are tied per workspace. You can have multiple workspaces, each serving different purposes, like one for personal, one other for work, and each workspace is completely separate from the others with its own members, content, and settings. Next, let's discuss what is a team space. So a team space is a space for your team, so you can think of it as a way to categorize your workspace into different sections and permissions. So it's important to note that team space lives under the workspace, so you can't just have a team space without a workspace. For example, if your company has a workspace and inside that workspace, you could have team spaces for marketing, a team space for development, and so on. So this allows you to change access settings more easily and also organizes your workspace into a easier to understand structure. Next, let's quickly discuss the sidebar. The sidebar is where you want to do a lot of your navigation inside of Notion. You can basically see all of your page structure in the sidebar and see exactly what's inside of each page by clicking the toggle arrow. You can also add pages here and see exactly which pages are private, team space, or shared, as well as do things like settings, templates, trash. You can see your inbox, home, Notion AI, and the search feature. Next, let's talk about what exactly is a Notion page. So Notion pages are kind of like a blank canvas where you can do anything you want in here. You can build habit trackers through very simple documents as well. There's a lot you can do with it. For example, this is a Notion page, and you can see that this is a getting started guide. But you can also go to this one, which is another type of Notion page, which is a database. If you want to add a Notion page, you can click plus add a page anywhere, the plus sign here, as well as this button here to add a page. If you're already in a page, you can also type /page to add a new page inside. So if this is the main page, the next thing I wanted to show you is that you can add subpages inside. So if I type /page, I can basically add a sub page inside. So you can see here that we have the main page and a sub page. So this is how you can have various hierarchies based off of your page structure. Now let's talk about what is a block. So inside of each page lies blocks. So if you go here, you can see the 6 dots. This means that this is a block. So if I have some text here, I can move this around because this is a block. So you can think of Notion kind of like Legos in that you can add a table here and you can add an image here. And all of these are blocks. So you can move it here, you can move it to the side, you can move this over here. So it kind of works in a way that's a little bit different from a traditional word processor, things like that, because you can just do so much more and you can move your blocks around. You can click this 6 dots and turn them into different things, duplicate that, copy the link to that particular block. There's a lot you can do within a page. And just to recap, basically you have your main page, you have a sub page you just created, and then inside every page are blocks. The next thing that I've already showed a bit is the / command. So whenever you want to create new blocks, you can type / and then search through all the block options here that you can simply add into your page. So this is a really handy way to just get started with thinking about what you want to add into each of your pages. So next we go into databases. Databases are such a key part of Notion because it is just as important as your pages that are like this, but databases allow you to have structured pages. So if I type here /database, I can add a database either inline or I can add a new database as a subpage. So if I add a database here like this as a full page, new database, you can now see that inside the subpage, I have a new database inside. This database, if I add a page inside of here, is not going to show up here because this is a container for your pages already. The unique thing about databases is that all of the things that you add to this database are going to have the same structure for each of the pages. So let's say that I have a page here and I add a date. Every single page I add from here on out is going to have a date here, even if it's empty. So that way you can see that this is also a page, but it is a structured page in that it always requires a date, even if it's empty. And this allows you to do powerful things like calculations and all kinds of things to be able to have these properties that a simple table just would not. Next, let's cover what is a database view. So you might hear about this a lot, like table view, gallery view. So what is this view? View basically means that Notion makes up of a database, and inside it's not necessarily this as a table, but this is its own data set that you can see in different layouts. So you can see this as a table, you can choose to see this as a board, you can choose to see as a timeline, calendar, list, gallery, or chart. So this allows you to have a lot of versatility in how you view your data and how you display it and calculate things. So now we have a table. If we want to add a new view, you can add them as tabs as well. So I can also do board view here. So now I see the same data here. So if I do page 2, it's going to get reflected here as well. So you can add unlimited views. You can also add different kinds of filtering, different kinds of sorting based on how you want to see this database. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the various ways that you will find databases. So here, if I go inside of this subpage, you can see that the new database exists inside of here, and it has a table and a board view. If we go here, click the 6 dots here, we can also turn this into an inline. So what that does is it takes that database, and now it's also a block that you can manipulate inside of this page and actually view inside of it. The other thing you can do is to add linked view databases. Linked view databases allow you to basically see the same database anywhere you want in your workspace, and you can add new things to it. So when I add page 3, it's now here as well. So you can move this over into your meetings, your other sections, anywhere you want. You can just move this linked view database into different sections. So if I also want to see this in my main page, I can access this linked view database here. So I added a page 4. I can go back to my sub page where I have this linked view, where I can also see a view of my database with page 4. So this makes it really useful to be able to see your database across your entire workspace. The next important thing that I covered lightly is the database properties. So as you can see, each database page, which is a structured page, includes date, now, and status. So you can add all sorts of properties here, from text, number, select, multi-select, email, phone, formulas, and more. And this allows you to categorize, sort, filter your pages based on these kinds of information. Inside of each database property, 2 key properties are really important if you want to really start using Notion in a more high-level way, and that is actually the relation and rollup properties. So a relation is basically a way to relate one database to another. So if I add another database here, and I'll add it as an inline database, you can see it. So new database 2, and this one is new database 1. If I want to connect these 2 databases, I can add a new property here, which is a relation, and I can choose the new database 1 and add a relation. So I can now add information here that's from here. So if this information relates to the page 2 from new database, then you can see here by clicking it open the relevant information. So this can be useful for things like, let's say, chicken soup, and this one could be ingredients. This page 2 could be chicken. So now you can see this relation here. And then this could be date bought. You can add the price, things like that to the chicken, and then you can relate that ingredient to database number 2 to see your chicken soup ingredients and further information inside of here. And you might wonder, why don't you just put this as some other information here, like a multi-select? So chicken could come here instead of adding it like this to another database. Well, the thing is that if we have this, we can't attach any more information to this here. But if we do it this way, we can click this open and see even more information for each of these and kind of create this structure and relation between the two. The next thing I want to talk about is rollups. And rollups are something that only is available when you have a relation. And if we click the plus sign and choose rollups, you'll see that we can choose a relation. So now we have the ingredients and we can calculate various things. So let's say that we want to count how many ingredients there are. We can do count all. So we can do number of ingredients. So now we have one ingredient here. If we wanted to add another, we could do that and it calculates this number. So this is another really useful way to use Notion's databases. There's obviously a lot more you can do with relations, rollups, and databases, but I hope that this is a very good overview of exactly what is a database, exactly what is a page, exactly what is a block, and so on. The two last things I wanted to talk about is share settings. So in every single Notion page, you can click this share button here and share it to people by adding their emails, and you can also publish it to the web. When you do share it to people, you can choose various access rights, and this allows you to keep certain things more private, allow only certain actions. The final piece of information I just wanted to add is that as you use Notion, you might want to connect integrations like Slack and things like that. If we go to the settings, you can see that Notion calls these connections, and this can sometimes also be a little bit confusing for some people. So if you want to add things, you should look for connections, and then you can browse connections in gallery so you can see all of the integrations Notion has. So just to do a quick recap of the main concepts here, basically the workspace is the main place that you do everything in Notion. The Teamspace is where you can organize your workspace into different sections, for example, marketing, development team, and so on. The Notion workspace is made up of pages. Each page can also have its own pages inside, like subpages, as well as database pages, like this one. Each database has different views that show its own information. And finally, every single page in Notion is made up of little blocks that you can move around and edit and add anything that you want to it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was useful. Feel free to comment below if you have any questions or comments, and I hope to see you all in the next video.